than we were, but now we are here. I see Rogue Banshee out there. Rogue Banshee, I think you're gonna really enjoy Austin here. Rogue Banshee is really into 3D printing. So that's really cool. And I know you're into 3D printing. You developed a bullet for everyone out there that doesn't know. I've been following this for about a year now. And the bullet is called the Dingy Dagger. And the company is called Atlas Arms. As you can tell, Austin is a little bit libertarian when it comes to it. I guess that's why he named his stuff after some Rand books. What the Dingy Dagger does is defeats body armor, so it's armor piercing, but yet it's a non-armor piercing bullet because it doesn't violate the federal ban on armor piercing bullets, and it's a 9mm. Am I correct on all that, Austin? Can you hear me, Austin? The people out there, can you hear me? Let's see what he has to say here. Okay, they can hear me. You can't hear me. Do you still have the old StreamYard opened up? Let me see here. While we are figuring this out, I am going to go ahead and play the video. Can you close your web browser and reopen it, maybe? Sorry, everyone. I think it's Giffords, you know. So while we're trying to get this fixed, I'm going to actually show you guys the video. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll be right back. I'm going to show you guys the video, and we'll go from there. So just give me 1 second. I'll get that pulled up. This is donkulous, as the kids like to say. Let me just pause that right over here. I'll get this going, and then we'll watch the video here. Here we go. Now my mouse isn't working. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring down the overlay, and I'm going to blow this up full screen, and we're going to play the video just so you can see what it does. Now, this is really cool, guys. Austin, if you're backstage, can you tell me if you hear me or not? Hey, Austin, can you hear anything? Can you hear? I guess he can't hear. Find out in a second. So, you still can't hear.
I can now.
Oh, you can now. All right, cool. I'm just showing you a video so everyone can see it. Check that out. That's a lot of penetration, man.
Yeah, buddy.
anywhere the Dagny Dagger may be present. Level 3A soft body armor is just dead weight.
This has been a long time development as well.
Yeah. It really has.
And of course, you throw in the
The
Bioshock
Dagny
stuff.
Dagger.
I thought it was pretty parallel to some of the stuff that we're doing.
Look at the that opening, the cavity.
Yeah. I think there's probably some hollow points that maybe perform a little bit better relative to it, but at least the 147 grain Federal HST was just not up to it.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone gets the point there. Oh, let me just.
This is not even the final form of the
I just
Dagny
want
Dagger.
to put that. Look at
Over
that.
the next several
That's
months,
beautiful.
we'll continue to optimize and improve the cartridge to reliably engage higher levels of armor, granting even more capability to the individual.
And that is it, guys. That is the Dagny Dagger. Go ahead and tell everyone out there what it.
I think I lost you again. I can't hear you.
Well, we can hear you.
Okay, I got you back.
right.
Sorry, what was the question?
Tell everyone what the Dagny Dagger does.
So the Dagny Dagger is a projectile or a cartridge, I guess you could say, which is first developed in 9mm, as shown, that is easily capable of defeating body armor. But it doesn't fall under the definition of armor piercing as far as the ATF and federal regulation are concerned. So it's legal for us to manufacture it, legal for you all, if you'd like to manufacture it. So it essentially resurrects this right for us. It was taken away. We weren't allowed to possess armor-piercing ammunition, and now the Dagny Dagger is giving us the ability to penetrate armor back.
Yeah, I showed it to my lawyer actually, and what he said that's like that round from Lethal Weapon. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, apparently Lethal Weapon, one of the original ones, Mel Gibson pulls out a fictional round, 9mm round that penetrates body armor.
Yeah.
And you've actually created it.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that movie was it was in part responsible for getting it banned, for getting APMO banned in the first place, because it kind of turned public attention to APMO, and and then of course like the regulators, they called it cop killer bullets or whatever to eventually make it illegal.
Yeah, here's my question to you: have you had any backlash over it from anyone?
Yeah, a little bit. Not as much as you might think. I know, like the AmmoLand piece that you wrote, back when we first announced this project, there were a lot of comments in that they were pretty negative as far as the perceived threat to people who wear armor. I also, I've also got lots of messages from people in like private security and stuff like that aren't very happy about it. But I just tell them, maybe get yourself some better armor. It's not like 9mm is still up to the point of defeating like level 3 or 3+ plates. And even this entire project, when we come out with rifle stuff, you're not going to be able to defeat. It's not going to be able to defeat level 4 armor. I mean, we have, as a company, have plans for that, but it's not going to happen for quite some time. So, and then I should say, since we're on this topic, not a single police officer has ever been killed with armor-piercing ammunition in the history of this country. So I think people think that the threat is far more overblown than it is. And even if it's the threat is there, I don't know. I take a hard line on firearms rights and the right to possess whatever small arms you'd like.
Yeah, a lot of people who actually try to commit crimes and stuff usually go for the cheapest stuff and that they can get. They're not
Yeah.
for uh, like hydroshock or anything like that. They're gonna go for like the full metal jacket type stuff that over penetrates and all that other stuff. While the law abiding citizens usually are the ones who spend a little bit more money for ammo for self defense.
Yeah, I think that's true. It is funny to me though that it's very odd that in the streets of Chicago, apparently they can get any type of gun they want. They've even got like Uzis, full auto, in Chicago, and yet these gangbangers and criminals are still haven't tuned into the fact that there's like better ammo than what you and I would just use at the range.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to keep people like that away. But it does look scary if you don't know what you're talking about. I saw it was AR-500 armor that it defeated. Did you send the video to AR-500?
No, I mean I don't want to play antagonist, uh, hey, look, they don't do anything wrong. I got no beef with their company at all. It's just, in fact, it speaks well of their company that we used it because that's their hybrid variation, which is kind of their premium 3A product. And as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, I think that AR-500 3A is the very best quality 3A soft armor on the market, which is exactly why we showed it in the demo video. So, I don't want to cultivate any bad blood with AR-500, but we had to show it off, and I wanted to show it off on the best stuff I think there is.
You've been working on this project for a while now. I think it was a little bit over. It was over a year when
Yeah.
you first told me about it. How you decided you wanted to do this, and you have accomplished it. It's been a long road. Was
Yeah, it
there
has.
points where you were like, "Well, maybe I'm not going to be able to do this"?
Oh man, like you're the first one to kind of ask me that, but the answer is oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, just my personality and kind of the way I've always approached things. I've always set my sights as high as I could possibly set them, even not knowing if it's, not absolutely sure that it was possible. And we were working at this for like a year and a half, and I was starting to get really depressed, starting to think, oh man, what if? And we were almost there with the way we were developing, but it's just seemed like, man, maybe this is just barely out of reach. Maybe it's not actually possible to make a bullet like this. And then finally it clicked into place. We changed something, the jacket material actually, and it just all of a sudden worked. And in 2 months, we went from me starting to be nervous that it just wasn't going to happen to when we recorded that demo video. And ever since then, ever since that final piece clicked into place, we've just been moving really fast on the project.
Yeah, and also it looks like you're targeting higher level body armor as well.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I think it was 3 days ago, we got in some level 3A plus soft armor that's made by Safe Life, and
I
that's
know.
not.
If you want to get
Say
safe,
again?
you can go to Safe Light Defense and use code John C for 10% off. Just throwing that out there. They're a sponsor, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, well I just as far as soft armor goes, after 3A, I think that 3A plus it's as good as it gets as far as soft armor is concerned. If you want better armor than that, you're gonna have to move up to some kind of hard plate, really. whether it's the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene plates or steel or whatever. So that's the next stop along the way, and I know that we can do it. Our bullet is as it stands right now, it's 48.5 grains. It's traveling 2,300 feet per second. And if you want to do the math on that, that's 570 foot-pounds, which is, that's way up there. That's only, I think, a little bit lower than 357 Magnum. So it's rated for that. 3A plus is rated for a 5.7 bullet that's 40 grains, just a lead, a lead ball, which is traveling at 1,700 feet per second. So I'm pretty confident we're going to meet that. And then from there, then we've got to try to defeat like steel plates and that kind of thing, which will be the real challenge.
I have no doubt that you will be able to do it. You're going to release everything and make it all open source, but right now you're keeping it kind of close to the vest.
Yeah, this is an open source project. We're a 501c3 research corporation, and in that regard, kind of the main point of this project in the first place is not even commercialization, though we will produce the ammunition commercially. The main idea was that we would allow people to make this at home themselves. But it kind of pains me that I can't tell people more about our special alloy that we're using and things like that right now, and that's just because of legal prudence. We have to make sure that we have the jump on the regulators, that it stays as legal as possible, as long as possible, and we have other backup if they decide to ban our solution in its current form, but we'd like to not have to use them. So unfortunately, we have to keep just a little bit of secrecy while we develop.
Yeah, people are thinking it's funny that I said close to the vest. We're talking about.
Oh yeah, I just missed that completely.
I didn't say that on purpose. That was totally not on purpose. Yeah. So, talking about regulators, has any regulators contacted you, or are you worried about an ITAR or any of that other stuff?
Worried about it? I wouldn't say so. I mean, of course, it's our job to be concerned about it or concerned with it. The projectile core, the core of the bullet, it is not banned. Any thinking reasonable person would agree that it is not one of the banned materials. But of course, there's little points of nervousness in the project, like, what if the government defines steel as being something it isn't? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, the government tends to, especially like the ATF and other regulators, they tend to interpret things much broader than they actually are. So I don't think that'll happen. But of course, when dealing with the ATF, when dealing with the government, there's always like crazy stuff that can come up. But we're working with a really good lawyer that I think is going to be able to help us through it. And even if they do come down on us about some things, again, like I said, we've got backup plans that we can put into effect.
You mean like the ATF changing the definition of a machine gun?
Yeah, you know it. That's an obvious one, yeah.
Yeah, we at GOA are still suing over that.
Keep it up, man. Keep it up.
Yeah. What they did with Cody Wilson, for those people who didn't know out there, is they went after the information and said it violated ITAR because someone could email the information to someone in another country. Are you worried about that at all?
Slightly. I mean, I guess again, I'm not worried about it, but I watch it with interest. But I'll tell you something, a little bit of an open secret at this point. We want to put this thing out open source. We don't want to control the IP we're not trying to monopolize this project. So the question is, why have we applied for a patent? And the reason for that is because our patent tells the reader exactly how to make this projectile, to make this ammunition. So we're actually having the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office publish the information for us instead of doing it ourselves. So anywhere that it is legal to access patents published by the United States federal government, you will already have access to the how-to of how to make this ammunition. So we don't even have to export it ourselves. We're making the federal government do it for us.
The Rogue Banshee says they're going to ban the press behind you for being an assault reloader.
Maybe. Isn't that how ridiculous it goes? So maybe.
Yeah, it is. Let's get into your background a little bit, because you used to make micrometeor shielding.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, several years ago, I worked for a company called Bigelow Aerospace. Bigelow Aerospace was founded after they bought some intellectual property from NASA to develop, which is, I guess you could call it, an inflatable spacecraft. You can only fit a certain volume into the fairing of a rocket when you launch it into orbit. So, for instance, the International Space Station is built out of many modules that were launched on separate rockets, but you can only fit what fits in the rocket. So if you have this capsule come into space, dock with the International Space Station, and then inflate, you get a lot more volume inside. You get a lot more space for the crew of the spacecraft than you would have if it were just a solid object. So, but of course, in orbit, you have a bunch of orbital debris slinging around at about, like 6 to 12 kilometers per second. Insanely fast, faster than anything, any gun on Earth by a long shot, and you have to protect the spacecraft from those. So and because this is inflatable, that shielding has to be soft, kind of like body armor. So yeah, my experience with that really taught me a lot about soft ballistic protection. And as I say in one of our videos, and how to defeat it. So I'm kind of a turncoat at this point. I've gone from making the armor to making the armor penetration. But there you go. That's kind of the base of my knowledge on the issue.
We got a question from the audience. For the people who are going to make it at home, do they need special reloading dies for it?
I don't think so. As you see, this side of me, you see right there, I've got a Dillon press. I know that the seating die on my Dillon press has like a hole through it, and that's important because you see that the point of that core sticking up in the projectile. You need a hole in your seating die. But my press or my dies from Dillon came with that already. I don't know, others probably don't. But that is the only modification that you'll need.
And everyone can be able to make it at home, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, you mean there's loading it at home, and when we commercialize this, when we sell it as a commercial product, we'll sell loose projectiles that people can load at home. But I mean to say, even beyond that, we plan to develop special tools and methods so that people can even make the projectiles themselves, the core and the jacket, and assemble it into the bullet at home. So not only will you be able to reload it, but even construct the projectile itself from scratch.
That is awesome. The projectile shape is another thing that makes it unique and helps it penetrate. And it's that dagger shape. I'm going to bring up a picture of it really quick here, just so everyone can see it here. But yeah, it's that dagger shape. If you look right inside there, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here, just so people can see it. But it's a dagger shape that actually helps penetrate as well.
Yeah. So if I could comment a little bit more, I mean, of course, the core is the penetrator. When the projectile hits armor, that jacket, that black jacket on the outside, is completely stripped off, and just that core is what penetrates through. Again, like you said, it's kind of obvious to see that it's pointed, it's sharp, and that helps a lot. But like you saw in that video, we call this bullet type, we call it armor penetrating hollow point, because not only does the core penetrate armor when you shoot armor with it, but as you saw, if you shoot a soft target like ballistics gel, or God forbid you have to shoot like some assailant that's not wearing body armor, then that jacket becomes a massive hollow point, and it inflicts terminal wounding that's far in excess of a standard hollow point bullet.
That's just a nasty, nasty bullet. What do you project the costs are going to be?
I wish that I could give you a small number. I do. And at some point, it's kind of the government's fault for banning nice, cheap, available materials. So we have to use an exotic material for this core to make it nice and hard and dense and that kind of thing. And that core is that exotic core is it's made of expensive material. So we want to get the cost down. What we have in mind, we think that it's possible to do this at about $2 per round, which is, of course, that's on par with like really, really fancy premium boutique hollow points like G2's RIP cartridges and that kind of thing. But as we're a new company and as we get started, you'll probably see a little bit more. It'll probably be like $2.50, $2.50 per cartridge, something like that. I do though. I really would like to make a kind of a lower tier version, kind of an economy version that might be $1 or $1.50, but maybe doesn't penetrate as high of quality of armor. Maybe something that only penetrates soft armor instead of something that can penetrate soft armor and plate, or something like that. And also, I really look forward to that cheaper version being used for hunting. And I think like at some places like Texas, the Dagny dagger is going to be illegal just because of their definition of armor piercing as anything that's intended to penetrate armor, which is really bad law, and it wouldn't hold up to a well-funded lawsuit. But we got to deal with it for now. However, Texas is overrun with feral hogs, so we want to make a version of the Dagny dagger called the Piggy Popper, made specifically for hunting pigs, and it will work very well. Why? Because typically you don't want to use 9mm to hunt hogs, or they're massive beasts. But this has the penetrating power to really get to the vital organs of the hog, but it still has that hollow point effect where it will open up a massive wound cavity. So I expect to also make a cheaper version for hunting as well. So there you go.
Right now, it's only in 9mm. Are you planning to expand to other types of calibers?
Yes. I think the first place we'll go after 9mm is 357 SIG, just because it takes the same bullet, so we're just really developing a powder load. But after that, we really want to get to 10mm and 40 Smith & Wesson as our other handgun calibers. We cannot wait to get to rifle rounds as well. That's probably going to be 5.56, 308, and 300 blackout, most of all. And I'd also like to get to 5.7 by 28. Like the P90's chambered for that FN Herstal cartridge that was made explicitly for penetrating armor in the first place. And I hold very strong personal feelings against it, but people are really starting to demand this in 45 ACP. That's a really slow cartridge. It's not really optimized for armor penetration, but if enough people demand it, we'll make it. We'll meet that demand if people have it. So, if for those listening, if you want to see it in 45 ACP, despite the limitations of the cartridge, if there's another cartridge that you want to see it in, reach out, email us, contact us on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. I'm sorry, John. I can't hear you.
Sorry. This does so much damage. I don't even see why you would need a 45. Hank Strange is out there. I told him about this cartridge and everything else. I just want to say hi to Hank. Here's a question for you. If the 9mm version can destroy body armor like this does, like cuts right through body armor like it's butter and makes big exit cavities in it, what is the 5.56 version going to do, moving at incredible speeds?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know yet. We haven't started to develop it yet, but I would imagine. I mean, I guess I should say like the Dagny Dagger is less about the caliber, and more about the design of the bullet itself. That armor penetrating hollow point design. So whatever cartridge, whatever caliber we apply it to, I would expect the same kind of increase in performance.
That would be
I mean, I'm
insane.
sure there's a limit to that. I mean, maybe that doesn't work in like 22 Magnum or something, but yeah, I think that we could do better on 5.56 than the options currently available to civilians in the U.S.
Yeah, that guy in the comments says the hogs in Texas are very crafty. He hears animal rights activists are putting Kevlar vest on them. Well, if you shoot the Dagny Dagger, I don't think that's going to help him out anymore.
I don't think so. I mean, if these people are really into animal rights, they would probably like to see, or they should like to see invasive species eradicated. So you catch somebody putting a Kevlar vest on a pig, you just have a nice laugh at them, and you go hunt those hogs anyway.
Yeah, have any of the big ammo companies reached out to you?
No. I've seen some engagement from like I think specifically Phoenix Ammunition on some of our posts, but they haven't said anything in particular. And I know there are some dealers, some people who sell ammunition that have reached out to us. But this is actually like I'm glad that you asked about that, because I think we do want to look for some partners in the industry. So if you're connected, if you're an ammo manufacturer, reach out to us.
Hank is out there, and he wants to ask about any worries about over penetration in like a home.
Yeah, I mean I think it's clear to see that's probably a question we get a lot. I would have to say, very straightforwardly, if you live in a house and you are with other people and you're concerned about hitting people on the other sides of the wall, don't use the Dagny Dagger as your home defense loads. This is made to penetrate, and it does. And even after going through an entire block of ballistics gel, that penetrating core is still stable. It's not tumbling at all. It's still stable. This will break through barriers very, very well. I have my own personal feelings, aren't necessarily the opinions of Atlas Arms necessarily, about the worries about over-penetration and carry ammo. I think that if you have to be worried about hitting people on the other side of your target, that you should be worried about hitting people when you miss your target that are behind them. So I think this is great carry ammo. It works on armored targets, unarmored targets very well. And I'm not concerned about over penetration for use as carry ammo, but if you're living with other people, don't use it for home defense.
Yeah, how many hours have you put into developing this?
Oh my God!
I know, just from talking to you in the past, it's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna assume about 60 hours a week, multiplied by 52 weeks in a year, and then multiplied by the year and a half. So I personally have spent about 400 and 4,700 hours working on this, and that's just me. I certainly do. I'm certainly the front guy here, and I definitely work more on it than others do. But we even have other contributors besides me, people that also put a lot of time into this. So, and it's all come down to now, and I'm very thankful that we went through nearly a year and a half of development, and we didn't have anything to show for it, and then finally the pieces clicked into place, and now we can be proud of what we got, and those hours are paying off.
When you first decided to do a armor piercing round that didn't violate the armor piercing ban, uh, did you get a lot of people in the gun industry or just gun people who thought it was going to be impossible?
Yeah, I did, and they still are kind of incredulous. I mean, we've got people in our YouTube comments, even for this video, they're saying, "What? That's impossible. There's no way that you can have over 2,200 FPS out of a 9mm. We could have even more than that if we reduced the bullet's weight, but there's some reasons not to do that." But yeah, I think I understand where they're coming from. I mean, this is kind of unprecedented, and I just came back from a couple of weeks ago from a Guns and Bitcoin conference where I talked about kind of how stagnant the firearms industry is. How there are a few companies that break the mold, like Keltec and some others, but like nobody wants to step out of the box, and so it's really understandable that after seeing 9mm is 115 grain, 124 grain, 147 grain. And you can stick some, 380 bullets in it if you want. After seeing that for 100 years or whatever, I think it's understandable that people are kind of skeptical that it can work. But if you understand ballistics and you really dive into the science and technology of the issue, I think it starts to make sense that you can optimize in a certain direction to make something like this.
A lot of it has to do with the material sciences.
Yeah, at least an aspect of it does. And I mean, for a very long time, I think the only materials that ballisticians have really known are lead, copper, and brass. And I think we gotta start thinking outside of that if we want to progress. Which might be also a good time to talk about what a super fan I am. If you notice that special casing that the dagger is cased in, that's an NAS3 case made by Shellshock Technologies. I think that it is the most significant advancement in firearms technology since Gaston Glock invented a plastic framed pistol. It's really big, and I'm really glad to see somebody in the industry moving forward on like the fundamental technology of firearms.
Can you explain that a little bit more for the people that don't understand what they did?
Yeah. So these NAS3 casings, suffice to say, I literally believe, in the proper sense of the word, literally believe they are better than brass cases in every possible way. These cases are a two-part design. So the case head is aluminum. The wall of the case is a stainless steel. They're about half the weight of brass casings. You can reload them infinitely. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Like the material doesn't flow like brass does, which also means you don't have to trim them. I've found that unless I use overpressure like plus P loads with my regular range loads, I don't even have to size them when I reload. Their case capacity and flash hole are larger, which makes a much more consistent internal ballistics. You get much more consistent ballistics out of it. Also more power out of it. They're also rated for crazy high pressures. You can pick them up with a magnet because they're magnetic. And I could go on. I think there's a few more things yet to say about them. And they're actually appreciably cheaper than buying new brass cases from somebody like Starline.
Okay, here's a question I have. Your 9mm are flying out at 2,200 feet per second?
Yeah.
And they're not plus P. They're just standard loads?
They are. They're more than plus P. I mean, I should stipulate that they are plus P plus.
Okay.
So standard 9 millimeter is 35,000 psi. SAMI, the was a Small Arms and Ammunition Institute, who that's the organization that standardizes firearms and ammunition. Like, they're the people that say, like, when you say 9x19, they're the organization that says, okay, that's what this means. They're the regulatory body, essentially de facto for firearms. They say that 9x19 standard pressure is obsolete. So 9x19 plus P is now the standard, which is to say, if you produce a pistol that is not rated to take plus P ammunition in 9mm, that's obsolete, Sammy says. You shouldn't be making that. You should be up to plus P now. So plus P is the new standard. So then plus P plus is any pressure between plus P and the proof load, which is, depending on who you talk to, 50,000 PSI or 55,000 PSI, which gives you, of course, a large range. Now, there are some, there's some ammunition on the market that's labeled as plus P, like Liberty Civil Defense, which is actually plus P plus. It's 46,000 PSI, but people don't know that because most people don't have pressure testing capability like we do. But our dagger is 42,000 PSI. So it's very safe. It's not going to hurt your gun. It is over pressure, but unless you're out there at the range banging off thousands of rounds of the dagger, it's not going to break your gun. It's not going to hurt you. But I would say you're a nutbag if you're sitting there spending $2 a round at the range. So,
Yeah. Would this damage like an indoor range? Like if it hit the backstop?
I think some older ones, like the gun club I used to go to in Tennessee, their indoor range was built in the 60s, and if I remember correctly, you couldn't even shoot like 357 Magnum in that range because it would damage the backstop. These days, I hear that ranges are built to take like repeated shots from 50 BMG, even though nobody would shoot that there. So I don't think it would damage the range at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if if you went to your local range and they were pretty nervous about you using our ammunition, in their facility.
Now, since it flies out at 2,200 feet per second, is there any different noticeable recoil differences?
So I've tried to figure that out, and as much as I can figure, it's about the same recoil as a standard like 124 grain, but it seems a little bit more snappy. So with like with long stroke operated rifles like an AK, you're getting like pretty good recoil, but it's kind of spaced out. It's more of a shove than like a kick, That's why our dagger feels like a kick rather than a shove. So it's a little bit sharper recoil, but my muzzle control is really not affected. And a lot of that's because it's a lightweight bullet. So even though you're getting so much more energy out of it, you're getting less momentum transfer, or I should say you're getting about the same momentum transfer and therefore about the same recoil as you would a standard 124 grain.
How'd you come up with the math to determine the proper weight versus speed?
That's a good question. It's kind of complex, and it's not really about math necessarily. It's kind of more, if you want to penetrate armor, you got to be fast. And if you got to be fast, you got to shed some pounds, or at least some grains, as we might say. So the question is then, how light can it be and still be reasonably effective? Well, we just kind of looked for how light the bullet could be before it couldn't cycle the gun anymore. So you can and this is popular in kind of the space that we're in. We do a lot of stuff. We have a lot of crossover with kind of like the DIY or 3D printed gun world. And a lot of them always ask us like, oh, can you 3D print bullets? Well, You can, but it's just not going to, they're going to be so light that they can't carry energy well. And there's not enough mass to push against in the bullet to cycle the slide of an automatic firearm, like a Glock or 1911 or whatever. So that's kind of the wall we were up against. 50 grains seems to be the lightest you can make a 9mm overpressure round, and it still reliably cycle the gun.
All right. A question from the audience: have you shot it suppressed?
Have not yet. That'll be an interesting one, but I haven't paid the tax stamps to have a suppressor myself, so we don't have one available. You know, if somebody lives in northern Arizona and wants to let us borrow one, you know, we'll do it like next week.
I can probably hook that up for you.
All right, great.
Yeah, I know a company that has a few Glock 18s too. So if you want to go ahead and shoot it off that. Okay, here. So basically, it's the design of the bullet, the shape of the actual bullet itself, the hollow point with the little dagger in it, the material the exotic material that you're using, which I've had some guesses on in the past. You wouldn't tell me, and I
suspect you're not the only one trying to guess.
Yeah, and I went really exotic too.
Yeah.
And the weight versus speed of the bullet.
Yeah. There's one other thing, and it's kind of an important message for me personally, and kind of a distinct thing for our company and organization as a whole. We optimize the powder load, which is to say, like, we have found, and I'm not gonna. You can find it. You can find more about it if you look into it, because I've talked about it other places. But I'm not going to talk about it on your podcast. I'm not going to name names. There are other companies that have developed, hyper ammo, like ours, ammo that's like really at an extreme, performs really highly in one aspect or another. But they kind of just call up ammunition, powder companies like Hodgdon. Hodgdon owns, like Winchester powders, Hodgdon powders, a few other brands. They call up these experts and they say, hey, what should we use? And the experts, pull out their textbook and they say, well, for that weight of bullet in that, loading, we recommend you start with, 9.1 grains of Winchester Autocomp, which is what they recommended for me when I called. And I think a lot of these companies, they just use that. That's it. They never test it. They don't optimize it. Even though we clearly have a workable product, we're still telling people we're not done yet. This isn't good enough for us. And so we're altering every aspect and dimension of the bullet possible. We're working with like how much gunpowder, what type of gunpowder we put in. We're making sure that no variable is unturned, no stone is unturned, and that we do everything possible to max out the performance. And I think other companies don't do that. And that's another thing that makes the Dagny Dagger special, is that it's not just that we're lightweight, it's not just the materials, it's that we've really cared to look at every single aspect of the bullet.
But you squeezed every single ounce of performance out of there to make it penetrate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, question for the comment. 357 SIG. Would a 357 SIG Dagny round be possible in the future, or would the bottleneck not allow it?
No, it would. I mean, we haven't done it yet. I mean, we're still working on 9mm. So, I suppose that I can't speak from a place of experience, but as a ballistic engineer, I don't see any reason at all why it wouldn't work, and I look forward to it. I think that's probably the second loading that we will develop after 9mm, just because, it'll be easy because it uses the same bullet, the same projectile.
That you're gonna make a lot of people happy there, man.
I think so. 357 SIG fans, they're not that many of them, but they're very emphatic, and I can see why. I think it's a pretty cool cartridge.
It is a cool cartridge. So when will people? The government does not know. Is it alien? Okay, here are the questions. When will people know what it's made of? Let's go with this. When will the people know what it's made of? When are you planning on releasing that?
Uh, all right. Well, they'll know what it's made of when we open source it. So when we're finally done with development and we have, when we feel that we're ready to let the cat out of the bag and tell everybody how to make it, then people will know what it's made of. But I know this is frustrating, and it's really frustrating for me too, not to be able to give you a specific timeline. But a lot of it has to do with, number one, legal strategy. We've got a great attorney that we're talking to now, trying to work this out. But our primary focus is making sure this stays legal, because God forbid we told you what it was, and the government comes out with some advanced plan. You know what I'm saying? We gotta make sure it stays legal. And then number two, we are a 501c3 registered nonprofit company. We will make a for-profit company to sell this commercially, at the end of the project. However, the development of this cartridge and everything we do to make it accessible to people at home to home make it, all the open source stuff, that's all funded by charitable giving.
I've donated.
Yeah, so it's and we're raising money. We're doing pretty well. We're almost at halfway to our goal, and I think being only a couple days after this this video goes out, saying we're doing what we said we would, I think we'll raise some funds. But until we get some more funding, until we are closer to the funding that we need, it's really hard to give you a timeline, because we have to work then at like the cheapest, slowest, most conservative route to get to our goal. So, that's really frustrating. And, I'm more frustrated than anyone that we can't just charge ahead. But until we get that funding, it remains somewhat of a question mark.
Yeah, I know you have to go to these last two questions. I already know. Does the government know what it's made of? Not yet, because you don't want to know right now. I can definitely say that they don't know, because you don't want them to take action against you guys or whatever to stop you. And the final question is it alien tech?
I wish. That'd make it really cool, wouldn't it? Unless I'm an alien, changed out of birth, and nobody ever told me. As far as I know, it's just normal, boring Earth stuff.
Yeah, all right. I want to play the video one more time before we go, and then I'll get you out of here, because I know you have to go. You have other interviews doing
that appointment. It was later than I thought, so I'm not terribly rushed. But whenever you want to go is fine.
Okay. We'll just go a couple more minutes then. Yeah, what I find really, really cool about this is that it's possible, and it kicks gun control in the nuts, basically.
I hope so.
Have you with everything going on, have you had people contact you from like mainstream media and stuff like that outside the gun world, or is it just?
Yes. So a few. Most of that was again when we first publicized this project. Like I think it was at the beginning, like the first part of was it 2018? No, that's not true. First part of 2019, I think. Back when that happened, there were a few mainstream. The more notable ones, the Washington Times, they wrote a pretty good and fair representation of what we're doing, very accurate as well. I was very impressed.
They're fairly. The Washington Times is very friendly towards gun rights.
That must be it then. But then, of course, there's because I'm liberal in the classical sense. I believe in talking to whoever wants to talk. I believe in an open discussion. So of course, the Huffington Post approached me, and I answered their questions, and you know how that went. I mean, all of you can guess how they portrayed it. They even called the they called the 3%ers that I mentioned an anti-government militia, which is oh, and the Oath Keepers. And you know, the Oath Keepers, they're soldiers, they're policemen. Like these are like, you know, they're not anti-government. And then like the last one, and this is a really interesting one. The New York Times interviewed me, or you know, a reporter for the New York Times, and he said that he would publish it like, oh, in a week after I do fact checking. And then I contacted him, hey, are you going to publish that? Oh, no, in a week after fact checking. And finally, I realized that he must have been like waiting to like publish it until it would have been like the most sensational, like hoping there would be like a shooting or something. And then they would drop this story and it would, you know, ooh, no, popular bullets or whatever. And that never happened. And they still haven't published it. And I think that's very telling as to the mainstream media bias.
Are you worried that if Biden gets elected, he's going to crack down on a bunch of this stuff?
A bunch of this stuff, yes. I think that that's a very real possibility. I will say, as far as our project goes, AP ammunition is not the cause du jour that like assault weapons and universal background checks are. So I think that we're kind of flying under the radar with this project. I think that the gun controllers, they thought back in the 80s, like, oh, you know, APMO is dealt with for all time. We don't need to think about that anymore. I don't even think that they're aware that this was ever an issue to begin with. And I hope it kind of stays that way until we're, you know, ready to come out with everything. I will say though, and this is the only thing I want to say about the election, if President Harris, you know, gets elected, then and they do start passing sweeping gun regulations, I'm very optimistic, and I hope to see a lot of my gun-owning brothers in this country stand up and you know, defiance, telling them that they won't comply. I think that could be, if that happens, if there's enough of us that just refuse to do it, I think that could be the real death of gun control in the country.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there, man. I'm on board. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the video one more time for the people who didn't see it. And I'm going to play with the video. So just walk us through the video, since we were just trying to kill some time earlier by playing the video. Now you can actually walk us through the video. Whoops, I'm trying to click on the actual. I'm an idiot. All right, here we go. So this is it. As you can tell, you have the BioShock font.
Yes. For people who have played that video game, I think they can see the parallels in our work in aesthetics and the themes of the game. So.
You get the BioShock thing. You get the BioShock type music playing. There it is, right there in your hand.
There you go. You can make it for yourself. When we open source it, you'll be able to make it at home. You invent.
And that's you using your Dylan press?
This is just a standard Arbor press that we use to assemble the core and the jacket together. This is a Dylan reloading press.
Yeah, I'm not really big into reloading, so.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, it works in every pistol that we've tried it in, and it'll work even smoother in a rifle, or in a carbine, I should say.
Yeah, are you going to put it in a sub gun? Have you tried it in any sub?
So we're going to verify that in about a week here.
Look at the exit hole.
Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah,
I like how symmetrical that they are. It shows that the bullet wasn't tumbling. So yeah. even through the armor and through the clay, that core is still stable and still ready to penetrate more.
Yeah, that is insane. Sorry, AR-500.
Yeah, nothing against them personally. They make some good stuff, which is why we tested with them.
Yeah, so that is really cool. And the cavity is massive in this.
Yeah, if you can see it. If people go and they watch like the video on YouTube, the high-speed video we have of that, you can go by it frame by frame and see. And I'm pleased to tell you, if you go by frame on the high speed and you take a look at it, you'll see that temporary wound cavity is about 5 inches in diameter. It's enormous. It's got like the temporary wound cavity of a rifle.
That is awesome. You've made some incredible ammunition. Tell everyone out there where, before I say that, I'm going to give you the final word, but everyone here can find me on crumpy.com. That's where you can find all my Patreons, everything else, all Patreon super chats and everything in my book. Goes out. I have 1,500 subscribers because this is my old YouTube channel got killed. Thank you, YouTube, dangerous person. About 1,500. We're going to be giving away a $100 gift certificate to Uncle Sam's Misguided Children. You can also use code Company for 10% off there. At 2,000, we're doing the Mantis X10 Elite. This is awesome. You would like these guys. They're all engineers. And this is an awesome. It's like basically like putting a Teflon. You're gonna takes like massive measurements of every little hand movement and gives you feedback right to your phone.
Big data applied to firearms, I suppose.
Yeah, they remind me Austin over the. It's funny because the guy who owns Mantis is also named Austin, and you both like engineer. Kind of funny. Yeah. So tell everyone where they can find you and find out more about the Dagny Dagger and Atlas Arms.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've watched the video here, but of course, we've got a YouTube channel, easy to find just by looking up Atlas Arms, Dagny Dagger, or whatever.
Yeah, it's in the description, by the way.
Okay, great. You can also find us on Twitter. That's where we post, incidental stuff. Like if we happen to take a video of testing or something, we put it there. If we have any like thoughts we want to share with the public, like for instance, when we figured out that it's like when it had like very high energy, we posted that to Twitter. So if you want to just like follow us passively, that's a good way to do it. Otherwise, check out our website. I would really encourage you to. There's some really cool features on our website, even stuff that's not related to this project, and that's how you'll find out more about the company, more about me and the other people that work on the project also. That is atlasarms.org, not .com, .org. We are a nonprofit organization, atlasarms.org.
One more thing. I got a Ghost Gunner 3. Forgot to tell you that.
Did you? Good job. I know they've had problems because of COVID. I know that they've had problems fulfilling orders. So you must have been one of the first to order it.
Well, the Ghost Gunner 3 they haven't shipped it yet. I know Cody.
Okay, yeah.
I know Cody.
Gotcha.
That's the only reason I got it. I think they're going to ship fourth quarter of 2021 now.
Yeah, oof, boy, that's going to be tough. But again, the Ghost Gunner, I should mention, because you mentioned that, the Ghost Gunner 3 is the platform of choice that we want to work with to make the dagger on. So that's going to be our route to make it at home most easily. Is we're adding lathe capability to the Ghost Gunner 3. You'll be able to make like your own premium copper bullets at home. You can make the Dagny Dagger core on it. You'll be able to do all kinds of things with this lathe add-on we make. So that's worth talking about. And then I guess the last thing I should say is reach out to the company. It's Dagny, just like the Dagny Dagger, Dagny at atlasarms.org. Or me personally, you got something to say? Tell me. My email is austin@atlasarms.org.
All right. Thank you so much, Austin, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. It's fun like usual.
Yeah, and I'm gonna send you over some stuff for AmmoLand. There's some questions, follow-up questions. I'm gonna write an article in the next couple days here. I'll probably get it out next week, so you can, all you out there can look for my article on AmmoLand about the update. So yeah, it's probably gonna come out next week. I got some other stuff I got to get knocked out before that. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we are going to be back with another guest in the firearms industry, and with that, I am going to play the outro, and we are out. Thank you for watching, and you guys have a great day. Be safe.